Uh, Here we go. Yes, Shraddha. You can introduce yourself and set the context.
Sure. So, one second. So firstly, hello everyone, and I'm Shraddha. I welcome you all on the behalf of Novel Vista. I'm sure you all are very excited for today's webinar. So before we start, I would like to introduce you to Novel Vista first. So shortly, I'll introduce to Novel Vista. Novel Vista have gained recognition over the years in professional training, certifications in multiple uses of IT. And Novel Vista have initiated and organizes every time the webinar summits on different themes and topics for knowledge sharing purpose on regular basis, as you know, like today's webinar. So this time we have chosen very interesting topic for the webinar, which is service integration implementation roadmap and its need in organization, and we'll be covering various modules in it. So to one second. So share the knowledge on this topic. I have chosen Prakash Sharma as a speaker. So he's having 16 plus years of experience. We all know him already, but still I'll just introduce a little bit where he have expertise in Agile and Six Sigma. He's well-known SIAM ITL Prince to accredited trainer, and he's having more feathers in his cap as so let's welcome Vikas Sharma sir, and I request him to take this session ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Shraddha. And team, before I start, I just want to check whether you can hear me clearly. If yes, I want you to raise hands in Teams. You can raise your hands in the Teams if you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, great. And team, during the session, in case you are not able to hear me, in case if there are any network issues, do let me know. I have a backup plan. I have another, right now I'm on the fiber. I'll switch over to the broadband. So most welcome to all of you. And it's so nice to see you, see most of you here. And we have connected earlier also. Most of you have been with me during the SIAM workshops, SIAM Foundation, SIAM Professional, and we are meeting again. Well, what's new for the people who are not known to SIAM or who don't know what SIAM is? For them, I'll be taking them through what SIAM is, why are we doing SIAM, or why organizations have to implement SIAM, and what are the benefits of SIAM. We are going to look at the SIAM implementation roadmap. We will be looking at different models of SIAM, and maybe we can also look at how things have changed over the period of time. So how SIAM started since old days in 2003, around that time, SIAM started taking shape in the market, and the certification came in 2016 for SIAM Foundation, 2017 for SIAM Professionals, and now we have another another certification in the market, and that is Service Integration Manager. So people who are already SIAM professional certified, how they can get that certificate for Service Integration Manager, I'll share the roadmap for that also. And for people who are completely new, what could be their roadmap to achieve that certification? We are going to discuss that. And team, so I'll be trying to cover up this session in next 40 minutes, and then remaining 15 minutes, we'll try to keep it for question answers. And in case we are not able to address any of your questions, we can still continue the discussions. Maybe you can write them down to me or Novel Vista. Novel Vista, Shraddha would share her email ID, or you already have her contacts. So you can write anytime, and I would be more than happy to address those questions. So this will be our agenda for next 1 hour. And
Vikas, sorry, I think you're on mute. We can't hear you. We can see your actions.
so somebody in the meeting muted me. So please don't mute me. Yeah. Please try to avoid muting myself. So again, I'm saying that, and thanks for telling me that I was on mute. And I was just saying that our agenda. I'll repeat the agenda. So we will go through what SIAM is and why we need SIAM, why organizations or why customers would need SIAM, what are the benefits of SIAM, that is service integration management, and we'll look at the roadmap for SIAM implementation, high level view of that particular roadmap, what are different models of SIAM, we will discuss that. Now, people who have done the SIAM professional training, they already know these things. For them, it's going to be a quick recap. In the end, I'll be also talking about a new certification, that is Service Integration Manager. What this certification is and how is it going to offer value to people. So I'll be talking about that. And then in the end, 15 minutes, we'll keep it for question answers. And I also said that if I cannot attend all your questions today, you can write them to Shraddha. You would have her contact details, or maybe Novel Vista's email ID that you would have. You can write it down to us, and I'll be more than happy to address your questions. So this would be our agenda. I was setting the agenda and then I started. So please don't mute myself, I mean me going forward, or else we'll miss it out. And in case you think that I'm on mute, please let me know. I'll come back and unmute myself. Okay. So team, yeah, you already know me, most of you, and people who are new to me, for them, I'm Vikas Sharma. I'm accredited trainer for SIAM, and I train on Scaled Agile Framework, ITIL, DevOps, SRE, Agile Scrum, Prince 2, and DevOps, Six Sigma. So all these are the areas on which I conduct the trainings, and experience in pre-sales, bidding, transition, operations, and even the enhancements, continual improvement manager, or innovations and automations. And if we talk about the journey, I've been through various organizations like Wipro, Cognizant, Microland, SunGuard, and I've missed few, Emphasis, and HP. So these are different organizations where I have worked, and that's the kind of experience that I bring in. So team, I have trained more than 10,000 people in these last 10 years with Novel Vista. We started Novel Vista in 2012, and right now I'm working as a full-time trainer with Novel Vista. Okay, now coming back to the topic. So team, service integration and management, SIAM. SIAM is service integration and management. What do we mean by this and why do we need it? So before we jump onto that, let's understand this scenario where service integration and management is not there. A scenario where, let's say we are looking at an organization. It could be airlines, could be bank, could be healthcare, could be any domain. You pick up one organization, and let's say that organization has their business functions. Now, business functions, their business processes that are being executed where end users are going to use those particular areas, and that organization is going to provide those services and products to their end users. They would have their retained IT organization. That retained IT organization would be very thick organization, because that retained IT organization would have to manage a lot of suppliers. Right now, we are already in the multi-sourcing environment. There is a very rare scenario where you would find that we have only one supplier providing all the services to any customer organization. So let's say we have retained IT organization from the customer. Assume it's a bank. So the bank would have to manage a lot of IT suppliers for them. Maybe one is providing data center services, one is end user computing, network, application. There could be external applications which account holders of the bank are going to use. There could be internal applications. There could be a SAP provider. So there are so many providers. We have a mix of it. In fact, you won't be surprised. We have different network providers in different geographies as well. Maybe hosting providers are a couple of hosting providers, and you would have, in a rare scenario, different LAN coming in from different providers. So we are saying that right now we are already in the multi-sourcing environment where you have services sourced from multiple suppliers, multiple vendors. So if we talk about retained IT organization, it's going to be a very thick, very heavy organization where you have vendor management being done by them, contracts they are managing, they're also managing end-to-end SLAs, operational governance. It's really not easy task. And then those suppliers come in. And now when we talk about these suppliers, well, for suppliers, they have that blame game because the contracts that are signed with them are on individual basis. So they have a lot of blame game coming in. They are not ready to cooperate with each other. They don't know, or sometimes they don't have a clarity that how do we collaborate with the other suppliers, even if they are billing. So who is going to do this? We will understand that, but due to all this, there's a lot of frustration at the business function layer. When I talk about business function layer, they are not getting what exactly is needed. For example, if we talk about a bank or airlines, let's say you are the user and you want to book some tickets or you want to do some banking transactions and you are using that application. Now, that application is owned by one of the providers, but that application is hosted on one of the servers, which is part of one of the data centers, which is managed by some other provider. LAN and WAN comes in from some other provider. So now, if that application goes down, who's at fault? And can we just raise a ticket with that particular application provider and let them just manage that? No, they won't be able to do it. Now, here comes the scenario where services are shared services. So in this scenario, who's going to do what and how much time are you going to allocate to that party? So in this scenario, they are not clear. They don't know how to collaborate. And that's where their frustration is growing at the business layer because they are not getting what they want. Their application was supposed to be up and running within the committed timeline. They are not getting it. End users are dissatisfied. If I'm the user of that particular bank's application, I would move on to some other bank. Yeah. And then that bank is trying to put that particular situation across different suppliers, but suppliers are not ready to understand that. Suppliers are just hiding their mistakes, or I'm not blaming all these suppliers. See, there could be suppliers who know what they have to do. They are clear with their part. But when it comes to collaboration, how are they going to collaborate? They don't know. They don't have those guidelines. So this creates a lot of confusion, due to which end user business is getting impacted. And that is the reason why we say that a lot of watermelon effect gets created. Now, what is this watermelon effect? We already know watermelon. It's green from outside, isn't it? And inside it is red. So when we talk about the watermelon effect, we are looking at SLAs being green from outside. See, there could be a scenario, like I told you, if you raise a ticket with that particular supplier who owns the application, that supplier is checking everything at their end. They are checking the logs of the application. They are checking how application's performance is, and they are trying to manage that particular application. Let's say it's green. It is all okay. They say nothing is wrong at our end. This ticket does not belong to us. Then who would own that ticket? It would go to maybe a network provider. Network provider submits the log or just comes back and says, we have pinged all the devices. Well, no offenses to any of the network people here on this particular meeting, but network people usually would ping all the devices, and let's say they have submitted the logs and they are saying everything is working fine. Network is all okay. Now who owns it? Infra. Now you go to infra. Infra says, okay, maybe there was a glitch and they fixed it, but again, you have to have that application provider. So they have to work in a sync. Now, when they don't work in a sync, they have their own SLAs, because usually when customer is going to sign a contract, customer is signing one contract with one provider. Customer would have that contract being signed, and we have a supplier management process that comes from ITL V3, ITL 4, supplier management practice. So we have that particular practice in place, and that practice has signed those particular contracts or supply management. And there's another one, contract management as well. They go hand in hand. Well, those contracts are signed individually with those particular providers, and they have their individual SLAs. Now here in this scenario, the problem is that we are not focusing on end-to-end SLAs. We are focusing on individual SLAs and as per the contract. Now, as per the contract, every party is trying to ensure that they are within their SLA. And in fact, when they transfer the tickets to the other provider, they put it on hold. And when they put it on hold, their SLA clock stops because now they are expecting some other party to act. Now, is that SLA clock stopping for the end user? No. Or the customer? No. Impact is increasing as the time is increasing. But all the involved parties, involved suppliers, they are focusing on just their SLA to make their SLA look green. Whereas inside customer is unhappy. Now, this creates that frustration at the customer layer. Another example, see, usually you will see that they have the SLA, availability SLA. Let's say application availability. We say application has to be available. Application availability at 99.9%. Wow, sounds so good. When we go to the providers, another provider, let's say network availability negotiated because availability comes with some cost. Let's say network availability here is negotiated at 95%. And then we talk about the data center availability or server availability. What if that server availability is negotiated at 90%? Now, these were the negotiations with each of those providers. Now, if server availability is 90%, will that application be available at 99.9%? There is a huge gap. And this gap is again creating the watermelon effect. Where who's at pain? Customer. Customer is losing business. Now, if we talk about a customer who's providing new services like Netflix, or we talk about the Amazon Prime. So what if there is that kind of watermelon effect? They would lose their subscriptions, right? So here, what is it that we are trying to measure? How do we avoid this watermelon effect? How to avoid this watermelon effect? This watermelon effect is people say that we care only about what is agreed with us. We don't care about the end-to-end scenario. You have to change that mindset. Who's going to change it? Who's going to take that ownership? Service integrator. Well, this is just one of the effects. We'll talk about how to reduce this watermelon effect, but that is that frustration layer. And then we are talking about the vendors, different suppliers, right? Now, local IT team is managing those suppliers. They are doing a lot of activities. So it's a thick IT team, a lot of overhead with them. And that is increasing the cost. First of all, there was a capital expenditure. Now, even you are increasing the operational expenditure. Overall cost goes high in this scenario. Retained IT organization. Providers would have a lot of duplicate activities that they are involved in. Maybe like reporting tools and all that. Their tools are not integrated. I tell you the pain area. Pain area, how are you going to integrate Remedy with Jira or ServiceNow with Jira? There are some adapters available in the market, but it's again a pain. So that causes a lot of duplication, a lot of pain, due to which there's a degradation of the quality of services, reduction in the quality of the services. So all these are the pain areas if you don't have service integration in place. Now, if we talk about service integration, what service integrator brings in? What would be the focus of service integrator? To reduce the watermelon effect. How do we reduce the watermelon effect? Well, in most of the trainings, I get that question every time. How do we reduce the watermelon effect? You have to focus on end-to-end SLAs and then help those providers build those OLAs, operational level agreements, or develop OLAs in order to support that SLA. Now, if we talk about a scenario, same scenario. So there could be a watermelon effect and you want to reduce the watermelon effect. So agree on end-to-end availability, maybe at 99% or maybe lesser, but that should be end-to-end availability where all those providers. Now here we were talking about the shared service scenario where if that application goes down, you cannot say it is individual SLA. It's a shared SLA. So keep the SLA as identical. Let them work on it together. Their SLAs would be identical in case of shared services. But in case if there could also be individual or unique SLAs that they have. So we divide SLAs in this way so that we can see whether SLAs are aligned or not. Your first activity could be you map those SLAs and understand what is needed in the end-to-end. End-to-end scenario could also be for airlines, reduction in the boarding time. That's going to be cost efficient model for the airlines, right? If we talk about companies like Netflix or Amazon Prime, reduction in the cancellation of the subscriptions or increase in the subscriptions, that could be end-to-end SLA. And we have been part of certain deals where we have implemented these end-to-end SLAs. We call them as business metrics, or we take it to the business level agreement. In the market, you can hear this term business level agreement, which is next level to the SLA. SLA focuses on outputs. Here we are trying to focus on the outcome so that we can create that value for our customer, right? So service integrator is going to do that to reduce the watermelon effect. Service integrator is going to integrate those tools. Tool integration is owned by service integrator. For that, we also create a tooling strategy. So tool integration means, like I just gave you example. You have Jira, you have ServiceNow. So how are you going to integrate them? We talk about these kind of scenarios, right? I mean, service integrator has to own that tool integration, not only service management tool. There could be monitoring tools. There could be CMDBs. There could be KEDBs, known error databases. So you have multiple tools. You have measurement and reporting tools, integration of everything. So we are talking about integration of tools. We are talking about integration of processes, those processes. Now, what service integrator does, service integrator would define end-to-end process. Yeah. Like for incident management, if that incident has to be resolved, who would participate and how those incidents would be managed. We talk about the integrated service desk. Integrated service desk, the one single service desk for the entire ecosystem. All the calls, all the incidents and the service requests has to land up at that particular service desk, and they would own that. They would do the governance on those particular incidents, get them resolved within the SLA. They will create the incident task for different providers, which would carry similar SLAs. So they are also integrating the processes. They are integrating the tools. They are also going to define end-to-end SLAs. You can also call it as integrated SLA model. That's what they do. So this is more of what service integrator brings in, defining end-to-end SLAs and shared processes or integrated processes. So service integrator is going to ensure that there is a quality of the service that is maintained. Watermelon effect gets reduced. Cost, retained IT would be reduced because your supply management, those SLA management, operational governance, tactical governance, that overhead is reduced. It goes to the service integrator. Yeah. So that's what we discuss in SIAM professionals and even the service integration and management. So this is why that service integrator is needed. Service integrator is a layer. I'm not saying who would play that role, that we will discuss later. But when we talk about SIAM or service integrator as an organization would sit between the customer and the providers. When customer would appoint the service integrator would manage customers' internal suppliers as well as external suppliers. All the suppliers. Because you cannot say, I have hired the service integrator and that service integrator would manage only the external suppliers. No, they have to manage the internal suppliers also because SLAs are getting impacted. Your end user, your business is getting impacted. If you don't have that end-to-end view or end-to-end management, it would be painful. So that is the reason we need service integrator. Service integrator would help create that service satisfaction for the customer, creating that value for the customer. So service integration is must in multi-sourcing environment or in the ecosystem where you source services from multiple suppliers. Now, if I talk about service integration and management, most of the time people would struggle to define it. So when we say what is service integration and management, so it's more of an orchestration layer. Yeah. Well, I have seen recently in India also, there apart from IT, there are some platforms where you can order the food from different restaurants and you have to just make one single payment. So they are also implementing this service integration management, taking best practices from what we used to do in IT. Well, there are a lot of other platforms that have come up and they are doing that service integration. It's not only for IT. Yeah. So here we are saying that service integrator is more of a orchestrator, more of a facilitator. So these are different names. You can call them as brokers, mediators, facilitators, orchestration layer. Now, how would we define service integration and management? Many people say that when we, oh, I just heard my echo. Somebody has to be on mute. Yes. So when we talk about the service integration and management, how would we define SIAM, service integration and management? So it is defined as a management methodology that can be applied for managing the services in the environment where you have services sourced from multiple suppliers. This definition is on the next slide. Here, we are talking about SIAM. What is SIAM? Service Integration Management. It's a management methodology. Well, many people started comparing when Service Integration and Management certification was introduced. Foundation came in 2016 and professionals came in 2017, the two levels. And right now we have Service Integration Manager. You can say that would be the third level. Well, here most of the people started thinking that SIAM would replace ITIL. It's not like that. SIAM is not replacing ITIL. So what SIAM brings in? Service Integration Management. SIAM would bring in 4 different aspects to ITIL when you are implementing ITIL. So SIAM in layman terms is implementing ITIL in the environment where you have services sourced from multiple suppliers or multi-sourcing environment. So here we are saying that when ITIL gets implemented, what SIAM brings to the table? So it would add more governance, end-to-end governance, assurance, ensuring that we are meeting the expectations, maybe on the SLAs, end-to-end SLAs, integration of the processes, of the tools, defining end-to-end SLAs, and collaboration between different suppliers, the collaborative environment. That's what service integrator has to do. So this is the definition of SIAM, and many people, when they started thinking that SIAM is replacing ITIL, it's wrong. SIAM is not replacing ITIL. SIAM is going to help implement ITIL in the environment where services are sourced from multiple suppliers. So that's service integration and management. Now, SIAM implementation roadmap. Well, when we talk about the SIAM implementation roadmap, there are 4 stages in SIAM implementation roadmap. Usually we start with discovery and strategy. We move on to plan and build, then implement, and then run and improve. Now, discovery and strategy, as the name suggests, we have to discover whether we need SIAM or not. Yeah. So when we talk about this discovery and strategy, it's more of a due diligence, as is analysis. So customer would try to first understand, or wherever you are trying to implement SIAM, you have to first do that due diligence. Even if you are working as a consultant, you would try to do that due diligence and you would try to understand what is the problem statement, whether SIAM, service integration and management, as a management methodology, can be an answer to all those problem statements. So that's what you are trying to identify. Then you are going to create strategy, as the name says, discovery and strategy. So you are going to create SIAM strategy. You are going to identify draft SIAM model. It's draft because we are going to get into the plan and build stage, and then there would be negotiations, and then final model will be identified. But draft SIAM model, you have SIAM strategy in place, you have a high-level governance framework, and you have the due diligence being done. So before we do that, we do the mapping of these services. What is the current set of services? From where are we getting them? Who are the providers? So we are going to get all that information collected, and then we are going to understand what is our pain area, as is analysis, maturity analysis that we do. So we'll identify the pain areas, then we will try to understand whether SIAM is going to fix them, which model, draft model, SIAM strategy, and a draft business case. So that's what we do in discovery and strategy stage. And then we move on to plan and build. Now, plan and build, what exactly are we going to do? We are going to finalize our SIAM model, as I said, because there will be a lot of suppliers who might have shared their solution for our problems, we roll out the RFP, request for proposal. We as in customer would roll out RFP as a part of discovery and strategy stage, would try to explore the market for inviting suppliers to bid for service integration and management. Now in plan and build, they are going to submit their best and final offer. They are going to ask the questions, those suppliers, to the customer. We call it as due diligence from the supplier. And then after the gap analysis, they submit their back for best and final offer. Now, this is the time when in the customer organization, we are going to make a decision that what would be the final model for SIAM. Whether we are going to insource it, whether we are going to outsource it, whether we are going to get into the hybrid model. Well, I'm covering those models on the next slide. But we are going to look at those SIAM models. And apart from that, we are going to appoint the service integrator, appoint any new provider. If we are replacing any of the old providers, appoint the new providers. Now, that's what takes place in plan and build stage. Contracts, your end-to-end SLAs would be defined as a part of plan and build stage. Once plan and build is over, then our transition journey would start, implement stage. Now, implement stage, where we are going to onboard those existing suppliers onto the new SIAM model. Now, when you are going to onboard those existing suppliers to SIAM model, there is going to be a lot of organizational change management that you have to manage, or cultural change that you have to manage. You have to conduct the workshops, you have to conduct the trainings, you have to do the scenario testing of different processes, you have to maybe do the scenario testing through the tools, you have done the tool integration, a lot of coaching and awareness. So all that would be part of your implement stage. And we also define the implementation approach. Well, you can plan for the big bang, but in the big bang, risk is too high. Most of the customer organizations would be ready to go for the big bang if they think that they have to do the transition or implement SIAM at the earliest. So there, they might pick up big bang. Otherwise, we go with the phased approach. Now, that's where we talk about greenfield and the brownfield implementation. You would identify which are the quick wins. So all that is part of implement stage. Then we go to run and improve stage. Now, in run and improve stage, it's more of your operations. You're supporting those services. So there will be regular governance. There will be different boards that we create at strategic, tactical, and the operational level. There will be a lot of review meetings, service reviews that we are going to conduct. We are going to see whether we are up to the mark, how is the customer satisfaction, and then improving those services and conducting regular audits. Compliance is also part of run and improve stage. So these are 4 stages of SIAM implementation roadmap. As I'm talking about SIAM implementation roadmap, so before we started this workshop or this discussion, I was just giving some heads up to a few of my previous colleagues that, as we already know, it started from 2003, service integration as a concept. We don't have any fixed time, but if we trace back the history, it started in along those days, 2003, 2004, in those days, and it took different shape. In those days, we used to manage it as a extended part of ITL V2 vendor management, which was one of the sub processes in SLM, service level management. So somehow we used to manage it, but it's really a good initiative by Scopism and Exin and BCS. So they came up with this particular certification and introduced it officially, and they've launched those core publications in 2016 and 2017 for foundation and professional respectively. So this is a good initiative by them, and now we have more a formal approach towards it, and we have some core publication around it. So this can be taken as a history of SIAM. So how it started and now where it is. So team, as we are talking about SIAM models, so there are around these models, and there's one more, hybrid model. Well, when I talk about the single supplier model, here we are saying that for a customer, single supplier, there's only one supplier, and the one supplier is able to manage their internal teams, maybe Wintel, Unix, storage, database. You have multiple teams, application providers. So that service integrator is the one single supplier is delivering all these services to the customer and also playing a role of service integrator to manage their internal teams and as well as customers in-house teams. So that's single supplier model. But that single supplier is changing in the market right now. We don't have any single supplier available. So right now, how we can look at that single supplier is we have something called as contract novation. So when we talk about contract novation, customer appoints the service integrator. As customer had legal contracts with all the service providers, customer would ask the service integrator to onboard all those suppliers onto their payroll. So customer again has to manage only single contract. That's how this single supplier model is still relevant. And then we have client acting as a service integrator. So when I talk about client acting as a service integrator, it's more of a in-source model where you have a team, or you can call it as a function in the in the customer organization, and that function would be managing customers, other internal teams as well as external suppliers. And then we have a lead supplier acting as a service integrator, where it's more of a service guardian model where one supplier acts as a service integrator as well. So that supplier continues to deliver the services that supplier is delivering right now, and as well as act as a service integrator and manage all the competitors. So this is more of a lead supplier model. And then you have outsourced SI. This is externally sourced. So you have a customer, you have the supplier, and the outsourced SI. So that SI was not part of any of or was not delivering any of these services to the customer, but service integration. So that service integrator is hired only for the service integration services. It's not going to deliver any other services. So that's outsourced model. Apart from this, we also have hybrid model. Hybrid model where customer would keep some scope with them. So let's say we are talking about three levels. We have a customer level, we have the integrator level, and we have provider level. So your customer is at the governance layer, integrator is at the management layer, and providers are at the delivery layer. So here we are saying that when customer appoints the service integration layer, there would be some scope of the service integrator that would be delivered by the customer organization, and some scope will be delivered by the partner SI. So there are two different parties acting as a service integrator. That's more of a hybrid model. Well, I've also seen a scenario where there was a different service integrator for the application providers, there was different integrator for the infra providers, and customer was also participating at the SI layer. That's also a hybrid model. So hybrid can be of any shape. So these are those models for service integration and management. Obviously, we are going to do the as-is assessment, and after the fair due diligence, after understanding the gaps, we are going to decide which model would suit into that situation. So that's about the SIAM models. Now, team, coming to a very important discussion, service integration and management. So if we talk about service integration manager as a certification, to get that certification, what all do we need? So we have a foundation level. Let's say there are a few people who have already done SIAM foundation. They are SIAM professional certified, because SIAM foundation is the base, the foundation, and then you go for the SIAM professional, even though for SIAM professional, foundation is not a prerequisite. But let's say you have done SIAM foundation, you have done the SIAM professional, and then all you need to do is go for the service integration manager. So that means you don't have to appear for any exam. You have to upload those certificates and apply for service integration manager certificate on Exin portal. Your credentials would be there. If not, you can get in touch with Novel Vista and we would help you. So that's more of a service integration manager certificate, how you get that. Now, if you don't have a SIAM foundation, then you can go for the Exin Cloud Computing Foundation. So let's say you have Exin Cloud Computing Foundation, you have SIAM Professional, and you have SIAM Foundation also. You can get that service integration manager certificate. So team, let me correct myself. I think in the first part, I said you need only foundation, professional, and integration. No, you need two certifications at the foundation level, one cloud, one one foundation, SIAM foundation, and one professional, and then you can claim service integration manager. In case you are not SIAM foundation certified, ITL foundation would also work. ITL foundation, cloud foundation, SIAM professional, 3 certificates, 2 at the foundation level and 1 at the professional level. You get that service integration manager certificate. There is a catch. There is a catch. And the catch is that 2 of those 3 certificates, cloud or ITL or SIAM foundation and SIAM professional, out of these, 2 certificates should be from Exin. Let's say you have ITL foundation from PeopleCert and you have SIAM professional from Exin. So then in that case, you can go for the Exin Cloud Computing Foundation. So you have 2 certificates from Exin and 1 from PeopleCert. That would qualify you for Exin Service Integration Manager certificate. Imagine if you don't have ITL foundation. So then in that case, or you have ITL old foundation that used to come from ITL V3, which is not there anymore, but even that used to be from Exin. So that used to work earlier. Right now we are saying that in case you have ITL foundation, which most of us already has, which is from PeopleCert, then you can still go for the service integration and manager certificate, because you can go for the Exin Cloud Computing Foundation along with ITL PeopleCert and SIAM Professional. 2 certificates has to be from Exin, only then you can claim Service Integration Manager certificate. There's no separate training, no separate exam for Service Integration Manager certificate. This could be your growth path. This could be your certification path. Now, team, I know there are a lot of questions on this slide, so I would open it for discussion, but just give me 2 minutes. Let me just quickly give you an idea about Novel Vista. So Shraddha already told you, as a part of Novel Vista Learning Solutions, we are into training, and it's been 10 years in the industry right now that Novel Vista was formed, and we have a team of 50 plus dedicated SMEs. We are delivering services or delivering trainings across the globe, and 500 plus corporate trainers, 100 plus corporate globally, and train more than 100,000 people across globe. Our CSAT on the scale of 5, it is 4.8. NPS, Net Promoter Score, it's 85. So that's about Novel Vista. We cater to all your demands regarding any particular certification. And our associations with almost all the examination bodies in the market for different certifications, we are accredited body from all of these. And if we talk about our clientele, so we are happy to deliver services to all of these corporates. There are a lot of them. We have tried listing few here, and that's our clientele. And team, now I open it for question answers. You can ask the questions.
So because myself Lokesh here.
Yeah,
so,
Lokesh.
Yeah, so basically on the cloud, Exin Service Integration Manager certificate, is it cloud computing is a mandatory certificate which is required?
Yes. So they are saying we need cloud, we need foundation, either SIAM foundation or ITL foundation, and we need professional. So 3 things: cloud, SIAM foundation or ITL foundation, either one of them, and professionals.
Professional.
Yeah. Out of these 3, 2 certificates should be from Exin.
Yeah, got it.
In case you have AWS cloud, then other 2 certificates like SIAM professional is from Exin, but then you will have to go for SIAM foundation from Exin. Then you can claim that. Yeah, perfect.
Got it. Thanks, Vikas.
You're welcome.
Hey, Vikas, Nand here.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to confirm one thing, like service integrator works. I mean, it's a specialized in each process, because I have personally seen like service integrator for the change management or in the problem management, or in the incident management. So is it like is it a uniform thing who manages all the processes simultaneously, or SIAM is a role who manages the individual processes in the organizations?
See, if we talk about service integration manager, service integration and management, it's a management methodology for service management. You're doing service management. So as a part of service management, if we relate with ITL V3, we have around 26 ITL processes. So your service integrator, any party who's playing that role, would manage all those processes or whatever is the scope agreed with the customer. It depends on the scope as well. See, we say service management by default comes to the service integrator, but most of the time we also have a lighter model of SIAM. Lighter model means that only operational processes like incident management, problem management, event management, monitoring and event management, and at the max they would add change management, as you said, and then service desk, integrated service desk. These things are minimal scope of service integrator. You can start with this lighter model. Heavier model, the entire service management piece, apart from SIAM strategy, it comes to the service integrator. You would have even invoicing and billing being managed by service integrator, transformations being led by the service integrator, compliance, risk management, security management, all this being done by the service integrator for customer organization. Yep. So it depends on the scope. But ideal scenario, that service integrator be good at managing the services or entire service management piece of work apart from the strategy. Strategy is owned by the customer. Yeah.
Right. So how do you see this this thing, like in most of the organizations I have experienced, like the service integrators are working as the the normal resources, like for the change management, the SIAM change in the SIAM change management, if a SIAM person is there appointed as a SIAM, but eventually he is working as a change manager.
Yeah. So let me tell you, I think there is some confusion. See, when we say service integrator would be an organization, or you can say a team, a kind of function. There would be someone who's heading that service integration organization, that deal. That person is known as SIAM Ops Lead, Service Integrator Operations Lead. And then you would have service delivery managers for different services. And you also have the service management team. That means you will have the incident manager, problem manager, change manager from service integrator layer. So these are only those process managers who are from the integrator layer, or the process owners who would design and manage those processes, end-to-end processes. Yeah. So if you're considering them to be a separate SIAM, no, they are part of the same SIAM organization, but they are different roles. Yeah. Different process managers.
Right. So they are supposed to be working on the tactical layer,
Yes.
or somehow on the strategical decision needs to be taken through them with the clients. But it happens very less in the organizations, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it again depends at what maturity level SIAM is being implemented, or are there any gaps. So that's where your SIAM knowledge would help. But usually this SIAM layer is at the tactical and the operational layer. So management of those processes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Any other questions that we
Thanks.
have?
Thanks,
Yeah.
Lucas. It was a nice session.
Hey, thank you.
I just have one follow-up question to
Yes.
the existing one, what you answered. So you said the gap analysis and maturity analysis assessment. The maturity assessment, is it something what this it comes under the SIAM scope, or is it something
See,
some
now,
other team or the sales team or the bidding team should do it?
I tell you, we are also part of many SIAM deals where we go as a consultant to the customer and we help them assess the maturity of their processes. Right now, if we talk about their operational processes, who will assess the maturity. Any consultant can do that if they know how to do it, or like you said, pre-sales or the bidding team. So see, pre-sales team would have their own ways of assessing it. They might assess the entire end-to-end deal. So what level of assessment are we trying to go for? So any organization can do that. You have internal quality team, you have SIAM capability in the organization. They would also help in doing those assessments. Yep.
Okay, so we have to build our own assessment checklist kind of a thing, and then go with that. Okay.
Yeah, in case you want to build that way, it is there. Otherwise, it's available on Scopism website also, but it's still at high level. And don't reveal your personal information there. I mean, IP of the organization. Don't reveal that. Try to protect that. And otherwise, you have consultants available in the market, but that would cost. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
So Vikas,
Thank you.
Shubhra to this side.
Yes,
Am I
Subhato.
audible, Vikas? Yeah,
Yes,
just to
yes, you
answer
are.
Manoj's questions. So yes, I was involved in one of the projects like into for the what is maturity and assessment. So yes, there are some questionnaires which we need to be as a part of our workshops we need to conduct, and based on that we rate our each processes. Okay, so mainly I have seen that process consultants are involved basically who are trained in ITL. Okay, and service management, they have a knowledge on processes, and based on that they access the customer processes, and based on that they come out with that maturity score basically. So maturity scores scaled around 1 to 5. So we have to assess customer based on that, and then we come up with some gap assessment or whether we need maturity, means the process maturity or process improvement over there or not. In that way, we the process consultant function basically. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So because
Thanks, Subhato.
yeah,
Yep.
thank you. And another question I have, just to you have gone through that different SIAM model. So one of the question I have, like when a customer decides to outsource basically their the capabilities. Okay, so I mean, so they are hiring someone from the outside to manage this active SIAM activities and everything. So what are all things that they should outsource, and be very careful so that they doesn't lose control over it? So what are all things they need to be
Okay.
concerned about? Yeah.
Yeah. So this question is really good question. And when we talk about
Thanks.
what all
Yeah.
things, what all things they should consider. So ideally, in any model, customers
Yeah.
retain capabilities that they would never outsource would be contract management. They
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
outsource that. Architecture management,
Yeah.
and they own the information security as well. It starts from them. Implementation comes to the service integrator, risk and compliance, and
Okay.
and they would own the they should own OCM, but they don't. Most of the time, it is service integrator who has to educate the customer and get that OCM implemented, or a role of organizational change manager introduced. Yep. Rest
Okay.
and the SIAM strategy that is owned by them. These
Strategy
things
only.
would,
Okay.
yeah, these things would never be given to service integrator.
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks, Vikas.
You're welcome. Yes.
Vikas, Hasnan this side.
Yeah. Yeah, Hasnain.
One common question is that, like, usually we see more or less when we say SIAM, the picture comes into our mind is governance, right? More or less.
Yeah.
And then it also has a component of management. So
Yes.
service integration and management, these are the two aspects of SIAM, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
okay. So when we compare this governance, we do have a COVID framework,
COVID.
right? Which is
Yes,
primarily.
yes.
So what is the differentiator of COVID governance and SIAM governance? What I understand, the governance of SIAM operates in all the three layers: tactical, operational, as well as strategic. But from COVID perspective, it is more into strategic layer. Correct me if my understanding is wrong, or you can throw some light on that one.
Yeah. So when you talk about COVID, COVID stands for Control Objectives for Information and Related Technology. Now it has, if we talk about the COVID 5, it had 35 processes in all. And it's not only at strategic level, it can come to any layer. Yeah. So COVID is a framework for implementing governance. When we talk about SIAM, SIAM as a management methodology can use or leverage COVID to deploy those controls and objectives in the SIAM ecosystem or in ecosystem where you have multiple suppliers. And we do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got
COVID is
the
the
cloud. So,
framework.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, so in that scenario, we can even utilize TOGAF framework also, right?
Yes.
TOGAF,
TOGAF is for architecture.
yes, I mean,
You-
in case
yes,
there
you
are
can.
some implications for like such environment where we can even utilize the governance model from there as well, right?
Yes. So you can use any framework instead of COVID if you want to go for OKR, because most of the organizations are going for OKR, objectives and key results. If you
Correct.
want, you can implement that also. It's not hard and fast rule that it has to be COVID.
Correct.
Yep.
And same goes with the service management aspect. It is not necessary, it has to be ITIL only, right? Because there are other service management aspects also, like Microsoft Service Management and so forth, a couple of more. So that also can be,
I tell you why other, when you look at service management, the only framework for service management which is successful right now in the market and has been proven over the years is ITIL. That's why people go with the ITIL. If you have any other framework, like I tell you, VerySM as a service management methodology came from Exin, which was used by a few of the organization, but not many. You can use that. The methodology is more of providing you a mesh, where again for service management it's up to you. You want to use IT for IT, which was in 2014 by the Open Group, or you want to use any other framework. It's up to you.
But it's not a SIAM mandate, right? I mean, scopism mandate is. No, yep. Okay, thank you.
But I tell you, in scopism, when you look at the process guide, the process guide would talk about ITL processes. When you look at the SIAM Foundation, so they have given guidance.
Yes,
on
that
the
is
ITL
that
process.
is something. Yeah, that is implied actually. I mean, more or less. But that's why I asked this question actually. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
And because one very relevant question, I just want to ask you, is it like prerequisite to learn the ITL processes, any of the ITL processes, or maybe to do the foundation or anything from the ITL in order to learn the SIAM better?
It is recommended because see, I tell you the logic. If you have to understand how SIAM would work, you have to understand what service integrator is going to manage. So most of the organizations have ITIL being implemented for managing their services. So that's why it is good if you know ITIL. It's not a prerequisite. It's an added advantage.
Okay.
Yeah. If you are certified, it's good. But it's not a prerequisite by SIAM body, or when we talk about the BOK. So it's not prerequisite that you have to go for the ITL foundation. If you clear only, then you go for the SIAM foundation. No, you can directly go for SIAM foundation. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Vikas. Here, Chetali.
Hey, Chetali.
Yeah. So, Vikas, I have maybe I'm not sure whether that's relevant or not, but there are a few questions pop up just now. So I saw that because to be honest, I was not aware there is a furthermore layer, which is a service integration manager. I'm a professional certified, and I was not aware that there is a further one more layer came. So thank you for bringing this up. Just I understood like out of 3, there 2 should be there, and that 2 all only from Exin body.
Yeah.
Right. Then only I'm eligible for it. And it will, is it something, if I go with my login directly, this will be showing, or how to claim that? That is the first question. Yeah.
So first question, to answer this first question, once you log in to the Exin portal, you will get an interface where you can raise a request or apply for Service Integration Manager. I would say you just drop an email or query to Shraddha. We will share that link and that interface to you. We'll guide you how to go for it. Yep. Now, if you have to apply for it, yes, your SIAM professional is from Exin. Then maybe if you have not done SIAM Foundation, if you have ITIL, if it is from PeopleCert, so then we can still go with that ITL, but then you have to go for the Exin Cloud Computing. That will be from Exin, and then you can apply for this certificate.
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you.
Okay.
That is one. But there is no further training or any certification exam, nothing. Right?
Yeah, there's no exam,
that's one part. Second is that because as per the process, I understand with SIAM also there are a couple of challenges. So if we started a listing, there were many. Just to few which I see. Because as you are training, you must be getting more experience from people also who are actually
Yes.
in SIAM. So
Yep.
just because I have seen, because before going for SIAM, customer is already in a ITIL framework where they are
Yes.
going to the, because it's a framework which they are in. The only thing is that we are having those governance and control through the SIAM.
Yes.
So to that, we have seen that when the customer is having a supplier who is there in their ecosystem for a longer time, they have a different relationship. And when the SIAM comes to a picture, so there is a different level of, it's not only professional, there is a different kind of, what I can say, a soft
Layer.
corner or whatever you can say. I'm not sure whether I'm able to put it in the right way or not, but there is a preference to it, that what that supplier thinks over whatever been suggested. That is one. Second, I have seen the resistance to change for it. So is there anything which you can suggest? Because this is something a very common and very frequently we face this issue. So if you have few
Yes.
suggestion
Yes.
or inputs to it, it will be helpful. Yeah.
See, coming back to your question that there is a resistance to change, there will always be a resistance. It's a human nature. When you bring in any change that is going to change the ways of working of the people, there will be a resistance. We call it as organizational change. So for that, there is a way to manage that organizational change. It needs more transparency, more education, more awareness, more communications, collaborations. You have to plan them. As you are starting with the SIAM onboarding, you will have to plan them. That's how you can manage that organizational change and cultural change or resistance. That can be managed, and it would take some time. It cannot be done overnight. So it would take a time. So minimum 1 year that you can think of. And that is coming back to organizational change. Now, if you go back to your old question where you're already working with the customer and you're already in some comfort zone with them, and now customer says, why SIAM? Or if you want to implement SIAM, if I have understood your question correctly. So in that case, you can go ahead and educate the customer on what would be the benefits of implementing SIAM. How is it different from
No,
ITIL,
no.
supplier
Sorry.
management? Yep.
Yeah, sorry. It was a bit different. I was saying customer was in ITL framework where out of many suppliers, there is one preferred supplier. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
When we moved to as a new company, we came with a SIAM plan where this old supplier moved to it. And that particular supplier has a very good relation with the customer.
There
So
would
there
be.
is a so in that way, like how to mold them to the new ways of or joint ways of working. What do you say?
See, then if they have that preferred supplier, and let's say if you again give me some clarity, is that preferred supplier becoming a service integrator, or you are a service integrator and there is some other preferred supplier for the customer? Is that a scenario?
Second one.
Yep. Okay. So let's say there is some preferred supplier and customer has a soft corner for that supplier, and now you back the contract for service integration. So how are you going to change this scenario? So there are ways as a part of, again, organizational change management, you will have to plan this. Yep. And you have to assure the customer that there is nothing wrong in it. Even if customer has a soft corner for that supplier, you don't start with the pointing out. See, whenever we start the onboarding of SIAM for any of the suppliers, we never start on the wrong foot. We never go there as a police. We are not there to find their defects immediately. We are there to help them. That is the message that has to go in the ecosystem. Only then suppliers would collaborate with you. If you go with a stick, they would become defensive. They would never collaborate. In fact, we have seen a scenario, a simple example. We were asking for some reports from some service provider. And again, same scenario, they were favorites of the customer. And in that case, they upfront told us that we should go to the customer to get those reports because they have a direct contract with the customer. With us, there is no legal contract. So in that case, we went to the customer, we took the reports from them, but we had to educate customer that it is sending a wrong message in the entire ecosystem. And then you would not go and have your dinner because you would be the answer man there, right?
One quick question, Vikas,
Yeah.
a point that I would like to add. So what exactly is happening when we are asking the customer to onboard a supplier?
Mhm.
Then what he's saying that cost is involved. So
Yes.
my next question is, we are not having any hold of the internal or external suppliers to govern them and to act as an extended arm of the customer to run our SIAM ecosystem in an efficient way.
Yeah.
Like for example, if I'll say, suppose the incumbent have some different ways of working, and we back the contract, and it's been 3-4 months now that we are uh, proposing some service improvement plans in the ways of working. Okay, to which we are getting a response from them that okay, cost is involved, sorry, it's too tough to implement this. If I'll give you an example, like initiating the itask model to get hold of incidents and to assign those itasks to the vendors directly, and the MIM team should be, if I'll deep dive into it, then the major incident management team should be the governing body. However, the SLAs should be tagged on the itask to get the piece of work done in order to resolve an issue. When we propose this plan to the customer, he is saying that okay, there is a cost involved, API integration or email integration will be costing us. Why you want to see or get into the customer's ecosystem of ticketing tool, irrespective of service now to HPSM, service now to remedy, whatsoever integration it is. But there is a resistance from the client. So once when there is a resistance, then why they have opted the SIAM methodology to take care of their business further?
So this is really a good question. See, maybe it happens. It's a human nature or tendency of different client bodies where they look at other competitors or similar other organizations and they have adopted SIAM. They are reaping benefits. They also want to go for it.
Mhm.
Now here you have to ensure that if security is the concern because they don't want to open up, they don't want to share the information about the way they are managing or don't want to give you that kind of visibility. So then you have to assure customer by creating a tooling strategy that how information will be protected, signing those NDAs and different agreements. You have to show it to the customer that nothing is going to be revealed out. Everyone is in confidence. So you can do it that way. If customer is not ready in that way, then you have to educate about the benefits of coming up with that iTask. Right now, what are your pain areas? Highlight that, create a business case, show them the real benefits, show them the ROI. That's the only way then. Yeah, more education, more collaboration
Is-
that is
yeah,
needed.
that's fine. But is it
Yeah.
something that we can go by the contract that I mean, the bylaws, if there are any, that
See,
if they have agreed or
Mhm.
opted for SIAM, then they should also opted for the new ways of working, right? Otherwise, what is the point of moving the incumbent out and getting or bagging the deal just for cost effectiveness? That should
See,
not be the case, right?
these things are already there in the contract. You will have to check whether it is there in your MSA or not. Ideally, these templates for the contracts are already there, so you would have these clauses. Yeah, master service agreement would have this, and
Yeah.
you can also have this ROC created, rule of club, the working collaborative agreements where you can list down what is expected and all. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yes,
discussing daily pain points and to come up with some
solution.
effective ways of working should be like make our lives and their lives easier. But
Absolutely. So
when
there are ways to do it. Yeah, like I said,
yeah,
in contract it would already be there, and then with the other partners you create collaborative agreement. Yeah. So I see many people are leaving.
yeah,
So
correct.
I think very good questions coming in. Apurva, I think I answered your question. Apur.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
Yeah, thank
Wonderful.
you.
So others now, as people are leaving for their other commitments, I would suggest if you have any further questions, you can write them down to Shraddha and we would answer those. And I hope you enjoyed this session and you can connect with me anytime for any further discussions on SIAM.
Thank you,
Yep.
Vikas.
Thank you. Thank you, team,
Perfect.
and have a
Thank you much.
wonderful time ahead. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, team.
Thank you,
Take care.
Vikas.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks, Jyoti. Thanks, Santosh.